This is the 20th episode in a series of shows focused on Brookline as an age-friendly community. In 2012, the World Health Organization of the United Nations designated Brookline its first age-friendly community in New England. This was a result of work by Brookline residents, the town select board, town departments, and a all-volunteer organization, Brookline Can, that provided leadership. Today, we are really pleased to have as our guest the new Chief of Police of Brookline, Andrew Lipson, and the Elder Affairs Officer, Michael Disario. Chief Lipson was raised in Brookline, went to school in Connecticut in Trinity College as a history major, went on for a master's in criminal justice, and then joined the Brookline Police Force in 1998. He moved from detective to sergeant to lieutenant and received all along the way honors and medals. He also was one of the founders of the Special Response Team and in fact was a commander of it for a bit. In September 2018, he was sworn in as the new police chief of Brookline. Welcome.
Thank you.
The Officer Disario was raised in Brookline. He went to school here, and he was, in fact, he went to Lincoln and Brookline High School, which we're right near. He got his criminal justice degree at Curry College in Milton, and he, in 2003, joined the Brookline Police Force. In 2016, Officer Disario was assigned to the Community Services Division as the Elder Affairs Officer. In that role, he's worked with the Senior Center closely and worked with older adults in Brookline, helping with the services that they access from both the police and other sources. Welcome, Officer Disario.
Thank you very much.
So this is an honor, because I've been looking very forward to, we had the fire chief, as you know, a while ago.
Sure.
And we kept saying that, well, maybe the police chief will be on. And I'm glad to have you on, and both of you. I think the age-friendly, the people in Brookline, there's like 20% of Brookline is over 60. I think that we're concerned. We care about the police force. We depend on the police force, and we like to work with the police force. So this is our opportunity to learn some things.
Great.
So as a new chief, can you give us an idea of the focus of your focus and the focus of the department?
Sure.
Going forward?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to be serving as chief in the town I grew up in. It's a real pleasure. Really what my focus now as a new chief is in these first few months is getting feedback, both internally within the department and externally in the community. Meeting with groups throughout town. I've met with many different groups. I've been fortunate to have some time with them, such as the Age Friendly Cities Committee,
right,
which I had a chance to meet with. So getting that feedback now will help me shape the direction we're going to go in the future and build on what's already a very strong community and a strong department.
Well, one thing we haven't had a problem with the age of the people in Brookline is feedback.
That's for sure.
I think you'll get Brookline tends to speak up.
Yeah.
So what really is how are you going to get that, first of all? How do you think you get feedback? I mean, do you walk through the streets and stop people? Do you go to meetings? What actually happens?
Well, I don't stop people too much anymore, but I introduce myself to a lot of people.
Right.
So yeah, I'm at different meetings throughout town. I've been requested to appear before various groups. I've met with many people in the department, solicited feedback internally, both written and verbally, and that's where I'm starting from.
That's great. I'm going to ask you, what do you think we're doing well? And I've been preserving this question because I have no idea.
Yeah. Brookline's a safe community. We're fortunate to have town departments that work well together as a team. I can call on the fire chief. I can call on any of the, my counterparts within the town departments. If we're working on a problem, we can address it together. Within the department, we have our different divisions. We have the patrol division, who are the officers you see out on the street 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, who respond to emergencies. We have the traffic division, that handles traffic investigations, our investigative detective division that follows up on crimes, and our community service division, which Officer Disario is a part of, that does a lot of work with specific to different populations in town, such as elders. So what we do well is we're very responsive.
Is there a focus on I'm sorry, but
Sure.
You mentioned different groups. Is there a focus on also disabilities or cognitive issues or anything like that?
Mental health is an area of policing that's really evolved a lot in recent years. We're fortunate. We are a regional training center for crisis intervention training, and we have a team of crisis intervention trained officers who respond, and a supervisor who follows up on all the cases. And what will happen is if there is a person in need of particular attention, an officer will be assigned as a case to that person or problem.
Yeah, right.
And we work cooperatively with a lot of different service agencies. We also have recently added a social worker to the police department who partners with the officers to help address those problems.
So you work with the social work? I mean, is something that fits in with the community services?
Sure.
Yeah, we find it a great tool, and just to kind of lean on someone from the medical kind of healthcare kind of forum.
Right.
A lot of times in policing, we're so focused on enforcing laws and stuff like that, and community caretaking as well. But it's good to have like someone non-police to kind of bounce ideas off of. And I can speak for myself. I found great value in having that, and we have a couple people in that role that really assist and really is a good resource for us.
Do you I was asking what you guys are doing. What about residents? Is there any way we can either improve, or what do we do? Not only senior residents, but in generally, residents in Brookline. Is there?
Yeah, residents can be the eyes and the ears of the community. Communication is great. Get to know your local police officer. If you see a police officer out on the street, don't hesitate to go up and talk to them, introduce yourself, say hello. Really, some of our elder residents are the most supportive residents of the police, and they really, it goes a long way when an officer hears something good from a resident about something that's going on. But certainly, there's many ways they can contribute.
And just to add on that, I found it very refreshing. I went from the patrol division, where it was more reactive type of police thing, to community service, where it's a little more proactive. And I'm just amazed at the support of our senior community. And it took them a little while to get used to me and my role, because
Right.
they were so used to the previous officer who was very good at what he did. So I had big shoes to fill. But just getting out there and it's very, very nice to hear from them and to get the support from our senior community.
So when you say support, is there anything they can do to either identify, or is there something they can do to identify when they have needs, or when there are special needs? I know I've seen responses to 911 or phone calls, and I myself am in a condo, for instance, in a bunch of units, and there are people of all ages, from the high 90s to the low 20s. Okay, and but how do you know who's there and what they need? And some of them can't go down the steps. I mean, if there was not even a fire, just an emergency, an active, terrible, but today we use it all the time, an active shooter situation, they wouldn't be able to get out. How can they indicate that they're there?
So I would say that that generation, I would say 60 or over, is a very proud generation, and a lot of times they don't want to ask for help. We're there, but we don't know you need help unless you ask sometimes. So if they can help us, if they feel like they need assistance from really anything, from taking medication to
really?
mobility issues to anything like that, we really need that information, and we can help them if they want. As far as
So who would they call? I mean, how would they do that?
well, they can start by calling the police.
Right.
I mean, even our non-emergency number, if you call a police officer to come by and just ask for advice, you can call me.
Right.
I take phone calls all day long, and most of it is just asking, hey, what do you think about this?
Okay.
Or I need help with this. Can you direct me? And then I have resources at my disposal, and it's not always me handling the problem. I can only do so much, but I have a lot of resources at my
That's
disposal.
not the way we think of police usually.
No?
I
Well,
must admit.
kind of in a good way, and I think Chief Lipson can speak to this, is policing, is changing, and, every couple of years, every, 5-10 years it changes, and I think we're in a kind of a change now where it's a more community caretaking, more mental health approach. We like doing. I really like being the elder affairs officer for the town. I take great pride in it. I really like the elderly in our community and try to assist them. So it's gratifying, and I get a lot out of it.
Great. And one other thing that comes to mind with the condo and the special needs was we had, many years ago, I guess, security issue, robbery, and it was handled over time. But then we called in someone for a security survey.
Yeah.
But it was different. I mean, I don't know if it existed then because it was years ago, but it was done. I mean, someone came in and done it, and I think it was someone from community services or community communications.
Sure. So we have a couple of officers on hand that are kind of trained in that. I actually spoke to the officer today that does the majority of it, Officer Pete Muse. And
Pete
I asked
Muse.
him, just tell me a little
How do
bit
you spell
about
Muse?
Muise.
Okay.
And I said, just tell me a little bit about what a security survey is. I know what it is, but you tell me what
Right.
it is. And he says, well, it's anybody in the community that feels like they want their residence or building or area checked to see if they can get tips on how to better secure it, or add cameras, or trim hedges, stuff like that. Just little tips. And he'll actually go to it doesn't matter where you live, whether it's a condo, an apartment, a building, a single family, and he'll go and walk around your home inside and out and tell you where he thinks.
Exposures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and along those lines, for example, I just had a resident the other night. I was at the select board meeting, and a resident approached me and asked how she could get help. She wanted to install a camera on her house, and she had some problems in her neighborhood and was concerned about it. So I told her to contact the community service division, and she did. And today the officer was out there helping her pick out a location where a camera might be good at her
Oh,
house.
that's great.
So, yeah.
I might call you guys.
Please do.
Well, we put our cameras in quite a while ago, so there's probably some updating. And we didn't have help at that point, so we did what we thought was good, but there's clearly, that might be really useful to get some advice as to where the best spots are.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's pretty good. You mentioned slightly different subject from Brookline and the people here looking for help to the communities around us. How do you work? I mean, there's a whole bunch of communities. I think at JP, Newton, Cambridge, all of the various, Boston, that's a small one, just east of us, and all around us, actually, I guess. How do we work? What are the ways that we work with the various communities?
We have great working relationships with the departments around us. We share information on a regular basis. Boston has the Boston Regional Intelligence Center, which we have a intel officer who shares information. And the communication is essential. Crime is not central to one city or town. Criminals move around. We have to adapt. We have to work with our partners. We partner during investigations, and we also partner on other issues. We have a CISM team that supports police officers. It's a growing area of policing where people are starting to realize that the toll being a police officer takes on the well-being of the police officer. It's a critical incident support system where recently there was a situation in Watertown that was particularly difficult for the officers. So we had officers go over and they do a debrief with the officers that were involved, and it's to avoid those PTSD situations down the road. So partnerships like that are formed on a regular basis. At my level as chief, I I've spent a lot of time going to different chiefs groups that I'm a part of, and the support that I've gotten from the chiefs around us, from Commissioner Gross in Boston, Commissioner Bard in Cambridge, David McDonald's the chief in Newton. They've all been willing to, give me their phone numbers, call me if you need anything. It's just a real partnership, and it feels really good stepping into a new position.
I have to tell you, it feels really good hearing that.
Yeah.
There's a sense of the community, which is the thing we try to work on very much, and it's not just for older adults, but we consider the community as a whole and includes, and the community, thinking of the community and the fact that it connects to the areas around us,
Sure.
gives me a good feeling. When you said that, I felt I had an immediate reaction of, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just give you some feedback.
Thank you.
The as far as older adults, what other resources? There were some. You mentioned that there were some various programs and resources around. Is there anything in particular that I should know about, or the audience should more important than me?
I think the Senior Center is a great resource. We have a great Senior Center in Brookline, 93 Winchester Street,
Right.
And we work closely with them. But they are their own entity. They have programs. They have fun activities, and a lot of times they'll bring me in to kind of incorporate. We do some talks. I do a scam talk that talks about elderly and scams on the phone and online and through the mail. So those types of things the Senior Center is very good at. Other things not associated with the Senior Center, but are the Safety Net program, which is something that we kind of not really affiliated with, but we encourage, and that is for people suffering from maybe a flight risk. So that could be, sometimes it's older residents that suffer maybe from Alzheimer's or other type of those ailments.
Dementia
And it also could be for
cognitive.
our younger citizens who, bipolar or their flight
Sure.
risk. So basically that is either a bracelet or a necklace, and it's called the Safety Net program. And it's a tracking device. So if your loved one goes missing, they have this device that is kind of like a LoJack for humans, and it helps us better locate. So a lot of our officers are equipped to use the
Is
device.
that what we're looking at?
Yep, that's the device, and that's the locator device. And we give a lot of our officers are trained in that, to deploy that. And basically, you go around and it gives off a signal, and you try to locate the person. So it's been very successful. We've used it a couple times, and it's been very successful.
Well, that sounds really good.
Yeah.
We all know, and certainly a lot of people my age, but there's no situations where that would be extremely effective.
I talked, just for example, I talked to a husband who was very concerned. His wife was suffering from Alzheimer's, and she had eloped 3 or 4 times. And luckily they found her with no issues, but he was very concerned that it was going to happen and the results were not going to be good. So I directed him to this device, and I have not heard from him, so I assume
Right.
that things are going well.
No, that's good. That's a good. That's using technology for good purposes.
Yeah,
as far
absolutely.
as I can tell. Right. The other things I was thinking of was basically the personal safety. I'll get in trouble if I don't bring this up, because I was told by my boss in the other room.
Oh.
But the needs for personal safety. What is it? We really want to advise people, and anything you could say that would be useful at this point would be
Personal safety as far as
older adults.
okay.
I'm conscious, very conscious of people being concerned.
Well, I think this goes for all residents, regardless of your age. I think you need to be aware of your surroundings, and those old rules of the buddy system and stuff like that. As far as older adults, we find some they go missing at times and don't know how to get back home. Not all, of course, but these
Right.
are, but we always encourage, communicate, let someone know where you're going. If you need a ride, or take a cab, or if you think it's going to be too far to walk, be cautious when snow and ice comes. Those type of small little, kind of common sense things that we take for granted maybe a little difficult for older people to kind of,
I understand, absolutely. And you bring up something about rides.
Yep.
Just recently, like this morning, heard somebody take an Uber and ran into trouble for various reasons along the way. It was the first time they had done it. And it was there, I don't know what the issues, what caused it, things like that. How can they report on ride share, or can they, how do we deal? Is there any special dealing with the rideshare organizations here, or is that just part of ordinary traffic and ordinary monitoring?
Well, I think if it's a crime that has occurred in town involving an Uber or a Lyft or a ride sharing, then I would say obviously call us.
Okay.
If it's a complaint or concern, I think you would probably call them.
And what about traffic issues? Which, if we see, there's the question of texting. I mean, everybody in Brookline has seen somebody stand at a light for 2 lights before they realized the light had changed. Everybody has seen worse than that, people driving along suddenly slowing down to nothing while they're checking their GPS. And in some cases, that's a rideshare, looking to see how to find the next house and the next place. And cars behind slam on the brakes, and hopefully nothing happens. So what about driving and activities like that, texting, strange driving, things like going through a community fast? Is there anything, I guess I would ask the Chief?
Yeah, we do have very active officers in traffic enforcement. We're also fortunate, as part of the ride-sharing program, there's a portion of all the fees that go back to the town. Right. And we were fortunate to be allotted a sum of money in the police department from that pot this spring to do some directed enforcement activities where we can have teams of officers go out to busy intersections and address issues that are specific to ride shares, which is hands-free, texting while driving, and stopping for people in crosswalks, right, which are big issues with hands.
Yeah.
And I know the state legislature is also working on a hands-free law for Massachusetts. The laws for texting and driving are somewhat restrictive to our enforcement. Somebody has to be actively texting or searching the internet in order for us to find them and stop them.
Sure.
So the laws can be adjusted to help us.
Yeah.
Help us accomplish that also.
Oh, that's great. And as long as we're and certainly you're right, crosswalks, things like that. That's one of the worst. Someone looks down and doesn't see the. I mean, crosswalks work because people look at crosswalk. As you approach a crosswalk, you assume there's people potentially coming. And if you're texting, or if you're looking at a map, if you're looking at a GPS, I mean.
And interestingly enough, texting while walking is a bit of a problem too. We have pedestrians who, they're not aware of what's going on around them, and we have had people hit by vehicles when they've been walked out into traffic while texting.
I've been walked into.
Yeah.
I walk instead, don't see it happen. So I'm really not surprised. So we're coming closer to the end. So I just want to make sure beforehand. There are a couple of other things I could cover, but I want to give you the opportunity to cover anything that's happening currently in Brookline that we might want to know about or be aware of.
Sure. A couple things. In the past few months, we have had incidents of phone scams. It's tax season is coming up. People become susceptible to calls claiming to be from the IRS, saying you're in trouble, send us money, you're going to be arrested if you don't cooperate. We did a reverse 911 notification because we had a particular rash of those. But I caution anybody to if you're in doubt about a phone call, do not send any money and call us, and we'll help you vet what it is.
The IRS does not call.
The IRS doesn't call. They don't threaten you with a warrant.
They do not call.
No, and this last scam we had was the scammers were getting people's information about other people in their family, and they were posing as family members, saying that they were in trouble, and they needed them to send money to get them out of jail, or they were in a hospital, and things like that. So, don't hesitate to call us to vet something like that.
And who did we report that to? Scams?
Call the police. Yeah.
Just call the police directly.
Yeah. Call the business line at the police station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else in Brookline? Is there?
Well, additionally coming up, we're going to be having some informational open houses that are topic specific at the police department.
Great.
A new program we want to start. So we'll be putting those out, notice out on those, and there'll be topics that seem to be of interest to the community, and you come into the police station and learn about what we do and how we handle them.
And I don't think this relates to the police, but I've been asked by people, will the cannabis thing affect police enforcement and things? I didn't see how, but I did say I would ask the question. So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have. There's going to be 4 recreational marijuana locations in Brookline, and one of them is coming up relatively soon. The date hasn't been set yet, but we actually, as the police department, have been working very closely with other town departments and NETA down in Brookline Village. They'll be the first to open, and the impacts of traffic could be significant. So we're working to make a plan that keeps traffic moving and keeps everybody safe.
Yeah, traffic.
Yeah,
and I can see. Yeah, that's what they had in the other sites that opened, were big traffic issues. Right
yeah,
then.
and you talk about working with our partners statewide. The other chiefs in the area. We're also working to operating under the influence of marijuana is a problem.
Yeah,
and it's the laws. It's like almost as if we rushed into it without making sure those laws were there in place, and so there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes to try and get things tightened up so that our roads can be a little safer.
Right. Technology too, I would hope, with the. But that's great. Is there anything else that's?
Well, I would just encourage elders or anybody, just come introduce yourself to a police officer. Say hello. Introduce yourself. That's how we get to know you in the community.
So do police officers walk around or do they ride?
Chief? Officers, we have both walking beat officers, officers on bicycles, and officers in cars. But all officers in our patrol division participate in what's called a park and walk, where for 30 minutes each shift they park, they get out of their car, they walk around, they go into a store, go to a playground, walk down a street, and when you see them, say hello, get to know them. That's what they're there for.
Absolutely.
No, I think you'll find a great group of people who are working to make Brookline better.
Most of us are friendly.
I find. I mean, that's a really hard job, and I think we all respect it. And I think it's something that we would like to support, but we also like your support. So let's. I want to thank you. This has really been good. I wish we could go on and on, but we can't. Yeah. So, but thank you very much. I'd like to invite you back at a future time when you've got subjects or things you want to cover.
Great.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So again, we end the program. It will be displayed next Wednesday. It will be displayed in the next few weeks on Big. It will be on the website for Brookline Can and on the Twitter account and the Facebook account for Brookline Can. And again, I want to thank Chief Lipson and Officer Disario for coming aboard.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.